Hey songwriters, welcome back to the Songwriting Studio, and today we're going to talk about the secret hidden gold of any artist or producer. So if you're familiar with this channel, if you're familiar with me, then you know my videos are typically like fast-paced, to the point tutorial or tip or hack type videos, right? But today is more of a talk, okay? So right now I'm aiming for people who feel like that they want to be more serious about being a songwriter, an artist, a producer, and they feel like maybe they're called to make an impact on their generation. And so consider today's video a podcast that you can actually watch. All right, so let's get into our topic, the gold, the secret hidden fairy dust of any artist. And before I tell you what it is, I already know that I can say it in one sentence. And so for some of you, you're immediately just gonna write it off and go, oh man, I could have told you what he said. I didn't have to watch this whole video. And I've actually had people comment that before. It's pretty funny. Like at minute 3.5, he says this. That's all you need to know. As if the things that I'm sharing are just some sliver of information that you can grab and run away with. And I'm like, it's more of like you have seen the front door. You haven't really come in and kind of felt your way around and taken up residence in that house. You just know where it is on the block. And so I'm going to share this tip, but if you want it quick, if you think you've already got this down, then that's fine. Just click out of this video. So here's the secret fairy dust, my friends, and that is skill, okay? And I know, again, I can say it quickly, but here's what I mean by that is skill is something that's cultivated over time, and it is something that I feel like is very rare in songwriters and in people who are producing and recording their own music. And we try and kind of offload skill into these other areas of, well, I'll just get some hacks or I'll just get some new gear, when in reality, what we need to be building and growing on is our skill set, is our craft as a songwriter or as a music producer. And it's sad to say, I feel like we don't always do that. And so part of this talk stems from what I teach here locally and how I'm able to mentor artists here locally. And so I want to be able to mentor you, and one of the ways that I do that is being able to kind of share principles and concepts. And this idea of growing in your skills as a songwriter is huge, okay? And I would say it would set you apart and make you a rare gem in a vast sea of people who are making music and little ditties and who are like, I'm an artist, I'm a producer, I record music, I produce. I think you can really stand out if you simply have skill. And these skills become like this superpower, or this fairy dust, as a client recently told me. You can become really effective and a really a really powerful part of projects. So as an example to inspire you on this whole thing, I'm right now working with a client on a big series of songs, and this client is someone who's actually a skilled songwriter. They know how to record their own stuff. They can even do production and a level of mixing, but they hired me to truly be a producer because they knew they wanted their songs to go to the next level and to really see the maximum potential realized on these songs. So I'm producing and mixing them. So I did the first series of songs. I sent them to the client, and she just got back to me, and we were talking about it, and she was just so stoked on it, and I was stoked on them. I thought they sounded awesome. But she was stoked and going, man, like, it's like you took good songs, and they weren't bad, like good songs, and just made them amazing. And that's really the power of skill. And her final commentary, her overarching commentary was like, it's like you just took each song and sprinkled fairy dust on them. That's the best way I can describe it. And again, this is not an example about me. This is just an inspirational story to you, an encouragement to you that when you hone in these skills, it's so much fun. You can become so potent in your craft and in projects like that. And that's just, it's a really cool experience, but you can't walk in that. You can't experience that if you haven't honed in the skills. And, I get to run this studio. I've been able to do that for the last few years. Well, that just came through tons of writing, tons of recording, tons of terrible songs, tons of trying things that worked and trying things that didn't work. And so I want to break this down and talk about a few ways that you can improve your skills. And then I also want to talk about some distractions from gaining that skill set. So practical number one, and again, I teach this all the time to my local students, and I've said it online before, and I really, honestly, I don't think people take me seriously. And that is this: write lots of songs. Create lots of song ideas. These aren't even finished, fully polished songs. Just write songs. Just make up new ideas. Here's something, get inspired, but write songs on a regular basis, okay? And so even with me saying this to people, it's just like it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And it's crazy because people are like, oh yeah, write lots of songs. That's good. That's how you gain skill as a songwriter and producer. But they don't actually write lots of songs. They don't write hardly any songs. And I'm not saying that about everybody. Some people take it seriously. But for the majority, they just kind of hear it and be like, yeah, that's a great teaching point. Write lots of skills or write lots of songs. But they don't do it. So if you want to break the mold, if you want to stand out, write a bunch of songs. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, number two, complete songs. And this is going to happen, at a less rate than writing. I typically write lots of ideas and then I finish a handful, right? And so the power of completing songs is, number one, you have something to share. You can't actually share a half-finished idea with someone, and therefore it loses its ability to make impact on someone. So that's huge to me. Finishing a song means I can share it, which means it can make an impact or an income. So that's powerful to me. But beyond that, as far as me and my skill as a songwriter, as a producer, when I finish songs, it's weird. If I take it from an idea stage all the way here to the finished stage, if I go all the way here and then I do that again and again and again, somehow taking it to here actually makes me better at the song creation process. It actually makes me better at the beginning of the process because I'm thinking with the end in mind, like all my hands. And I don't know what it is about it, but it just helps me get better at the whole process from start to finish. And I become a better songwriter. I become a better producer. That just comes through completing songs, and I get more confident about the whole process. Then the last thing I would share about growing in skill is you're going to have to get great training. And I am talking about tips and hacks, but I'm talking about more than that. I'm talking about like really learning from someone who's more mature, from someone who has excelled in the craft, who's, kind of a master of the craft. And I've had 2 or 3 that I can think of particularly where I have paid money, like literally thousands of dollars, not because I have a bunch of money, but I made space in the budget to take a weekly lessons for a few years from a mentor in Dallas. It started with guitar, it moved into songwriting and production, and then it just moved into, he was really become a music mentor for me. And so that's been huge, so shout out to Chris. And then I've had other people that I would call mentors who were online teachers, and I paid, again, good money to get inside of their courses, hundreds of dollars or more, to get inside of their content that was cohesive from A to Z. It wasn't just like a random tip here, a random tip there, but it was from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. And I would watch 45, 50-minute videos and take copious notes and then try and apply that into my own songwriting or producing or mixing process. And I didn't go, I'm just going to skip through this because I probably already know that. Or I was like, no, I still have things to learn. I want to be mentored. I want to grow. I even paid extra money one time to have a 2-hour face-to-face Skype interview. And I had a list of like 75 questions. I just drilled him, but it was worth the money. So if you're someone who's really serious about your craft and you feel like it could be more than just a hobby, then you're probably going to look into more, you're going to want to look into more serious training. And I don't know what that looks like for you, whether that's in person, online, school, whatever it is, but take it seriously. It will affect you in more ways than you know, and it will build you up in more ways than you know. All right, so now let's talk about distractions from growing your skill and your craft as a songwriter and as a artist and producer. So I want to mention two. I know there's certainly more, but these are two common distractions that I see that we try and replace growing our skills with, but it actually doesn't help us at all. It appears to help us, but it doesn't really help us. So number one, and maybe the biggest distraction, is actually tutorials, tips, hacks, videos, YouTube. And I say that as someone who teaches on YouTube, as someone who I have tips and hacks, and those are very helpful. I'm not saying those aren't necessary. They're very necessary. But here's what I'm talking about. Let's say you have an hour to work on your song. You've got an hour to write or record or whatever it is. And then you spend 45 minutes watching YouTube videos on hacks and tips and tutorials. And then they actually shift from tutorials into like, this guy made a song using dog sounds, like, and I've been there. It's intriguing, it's interesting, and there's things to glean from that. But then at the end, you spend 10 minutes writing your song, growing in the craft, and then at the end you're like, yeah, songwriting didn't go very well today. It's like, well, you didn't really write a whole lot. You were kind of in and around songwriting, but you didn't actually write something. And I know this sounds silly, but we do it all the time. I know I've done it, and you've probably done it too. So comment below if you're like, yeah, I admit it. Yeah, I've done it. And the thing is, you can only gather a few bits of information at a time, and then you need to start applying them. So if you want to grab a tip or two or three, awesome. But when you start grabbing like 10, 12, 5, or 5, 8, 10, 12 things, you can't remember all that. You're just being entertained. You're not growing at that point. And I don't mean to be harsh on you, but I'm just breaking it down, just being real as a friend, as a mentor, okay? So the second distraction, I'm just gonna say it, is gear lusting. So this is where you just goob and gob and you spend all this time, looking in a magazine at new gear, or looking on Sweetwater or Guitar Center, whatever your place is locally or online. You just spend tons of time and maybe even tons of money on new gear that doesn't actually do very much for you. It doesn't make you sound that much better. And it's funny because I've seen people who are, mediocre at guitar, and they're convinced if they go get this $1,500 guitar, they're gonna sound awesome. So they go get that guitar and then they play the same G, C, D, E minor, and it sounds practically the same. And to the people who are listening to them, they literally cannot tell a difference. They might look and be like, well, that's cool looking guitar, but they can't tell a difference. You're playing the same chords, because for most of us as humans, we're more attuned to the melody than we are the tone of something. Like we're listening for like da da da, like, oh, that was a cool melody, versus how we shape the tone of that little melody. So just do yourself a favor and stop spending time there. Stop spending money, by golly. And I'll use this analogy here in the realm of gear lusting, and that is, I grew up racing motocross. I'm one of four brothers. We all raced, we all rode. And it was funny because you would have guys in the beginner class who would go out and buy like these $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 motorcycles, get all brand new gear, and yet they're like super slow. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I was slow at a time too, but I wasn't worried about having the nicest bike when I'm just getting started. Like, work up your skills, And then you would have guys who, like my brother, they'd be riding an older bike, and people would even be like, dude, that bike's old. And they were so fast because they had honed their skills. And again, what you can do on the old bike and the new bike, it's practically the same. Maybe it's a little bit different, but it's not like this. We think we're going to get way better with the new guitar, sound way different with the new guitar. It's more like this, and no one even notices that. So do yourself a favor, hone in your skills. Spend your time not looking at a magazine, but spend your time practicing guitar, not slobbering over a new guitar that doesn't teach you anything. Does that make sense? All right, so let's wrap this whole thing up with some application. And so this has been a great talk. You could have, been excited by it, inspired by it, but if it doesn't translate to you doing something with this, then it's literally just been entertainment for you. And it's okay for it to be entertaining. I love listening to a good podcast. But my goal here in the studio is not just to build subscribers and followers and numbers and all of this. It's like I actually want to take what I've been given, what God has put in me, what great mentors have put in me, what experience has put in me, and I want to start handing it to you. Whoa, Whoa! I want to take these things that are in me and put them in you. I want to give them to you, but that has to happen through application. As the old saying goes, knowledge is half the battle. So I first tell you about it, and then you need to take these things and apply it. So here's 3 ways on my list that I think you can apply these. And we've mentioned some, but I want to say them more succinctly. Number 1 is, if you've got time and you want to watch a tutorial, just watch one. And then take the rest of your time and actually apply that, because then you've taken that skill and you've actually gained it. You've actually assimilated it into your process and you've become more skilled, okay? So don't spend all day on YouTube. Spend a little bit there and then spend more time actually applying and writing. All right, application number 2, stop gear listing. I mean, there's just no way around it. Like, quit looking at the magazines, quit looking at online retailers or locally, and trade that time, trade that money, trade that effort, that input for playing, writing, honing in your skills. Instead of buying a new guitar, go get lessons, get better at guitar. That's pretty practical. Number 3, this is so big, get a consistent time each week that you can write and create songs or produce songs. And this is another one where people are like, yeah, that's great advice, but it doesn't actually happen in the majority of people. So I'm asking you, come on, like, let's do it. Like, I want to challenge you. When can you spend an hour a week, 2 hours a week? Maybe it's more than once a week, but when can you lock down time when you're not distracted, you're not on your phone, you're not on surfing the web, but you're not watching tutorials, you're just writing songs? When does that time happen for you? Number 4 is, with that time, or in other times as well, write lots of song ideas. Now, these aren't fully completed, polished, produced songs. I'm just saying write lots of ideas. And it just helps hone in your skills. You get better at things, and you'll have really bad ideas, but you'll also start to have more and more good ideas, which you'll want to take to the completed stage. All right, and then lastly, number 5, I would really encourage you to complete songs regularly. So I don't know what your pace is. Maybe it's once a month. That's quite a lot in my opinion. Maybe it's one song every 3 months, or maybe you're a mom with kids or lots of work and jobs. Maybe it's one song every 6 months. I think that's an incredible goal, because on average, most people, or most songwriters at least, they don't finish one song every 6 months. They get some ideas going and then they just kind of fall off with it. So if you're completing 2 songs a year, 4 songs a year, 6, 8, 10 songs a year, like, kudos to you. I think that is awesome. So take some of those great ideas and then spend some of your time actually completing songs, so you have something to show for your efforts. So I hope you've been encouraged. I hope you've been inspired to actually act. And I would love for you to comment below, what part of this are you going to apply? What are you planning on changing in your kind of regular routine of writing and creating and completing songs? Like, are you going to stop gear listing more? Are you going to write lots of song ideas? Are you going to do all of them? Or maybe you want to mention below some of the kind of confessions of, like, yeah, I've been a big gear lister at times, or yeah, I've just like watched tutorials all day and be like, I'm a songwriter. Let's have a laugh about it, and then let's grow from it. Okay, so this is Dean from the Songwriting Studio, wanting to equip you to be a music messenger, someone who makes an impact on your generation, and I will catch you in the next video. Like, literally, every time I go to record, airplanes fly by, trains. I don't get it. I don't get it. They're against me, man. I don't get it.